The gentleman that you're about to watch and listen to in this podcast has such a distinguished voice. It's recognizable most anywhere. In fact, that's how I recognize him, really, is by his voice. Now, he's been in over 170 films, and he is a producer, a director, a writer, and a musician, as well as a voice actor. And who am I talking about? Tuvok. Now, Tim Russ, also better known as Tuvok, because that is probably his largest role that he's played to date. And I say to date because he continues to act as often as he can. So, without further ado, let's get into watching and listening to this conversation.
What's up? How are you?
Good, good. Hey, sorry about the resend and the passcode on that. I don't know why that did not work.
No worries. Don't worry. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that is true when we come into technology.
That is exactly the case. A lot of it's a little crazy and ragged, if you ask me.
Oh yeah. Looks like you're having a beautiful day back there behind you.
Very nice today. Beautiful.
Well, you know what Seattle's like half the times, right?
Exactly. Not so beautiful.
That's right. I'd like to thank my special guest for joining us today. He has had over 170 acting roles, writing, directing, producing, and I think you've even done something for children's books or something like that as well. So
Yep.
his name is Tim Russ. And I know you're probably getting tired of this, but most well known as Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager.
Yes. Yes.
So, Mr. Russ, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Are you doing fine with all this pandemic and everything?
As much as possible, man. Just trying to get through it in one piece and survive it all,
Yeah. And you being a musician on top of being an actor, has that kind of put a damper on things for you?
Yeah, it's put a damper on everything.
Yeah.
Uh, your social life is pretty much done. Your entertainment and fun is done. Your work is slowed down to a crawl, and you're not able to perform live anywhere really. I've been able to keep some of the music stuff going because I can do outdoor performances right here at my house, and, for the people that live in the neighborhood, and that's what I end up doing the last 6 months or so.
Mm. Uh, we got to do whatever we can, right?
Got to do whatever
Just
we can.
keep
Yes,
ourselves sane and keep others sane as well.
100%.
So let's go into your acting. I think one of your first credited roles was back in 1985 on the TV series. What was it, Hunter?
Might have been, yeah, Hunter or Twilight Zone or one of those shows back then. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's been quite some time, and like I mentioned earlier, you've got over 170 roles and Spaceballs. I mean that's a cult favorite out there. So you were an extra in Spaceballs, right?
I was an extra in Spaceballs. Yeah, it was actually it was an on-camera featured line, so
Oh,
not background. I was working it's a featured spot. It's a gag, one of the gags that he set up, which was basically combing the desert, and the character was Trooper. That was the character's name, was the Trooper. So it was a quick one-line gag that he likes to set up a lot of in his movies, and for people who are fans of that particular film, they mostly, for the most part, remember that. So it's good.
well, I have it on DVD, so you know what I'm pulling out tonight and watching, and
You got to pull it up.
there's nothing to watch. And then I thought, you know what? Star Trek Voyager. I'm going right there. So that's always a good one to go back to.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, so there is a little bit of a gap between that Spaceballs and then getting into the sci-fi. You did a lot of TV series in between, and then all of a sudden, I think it was Star Trek Generation, or no, yeah, Generations, in '93, and then from that point on, it seemed like that you were heavily into the sci-fi genre. So how did all that come about?
That's just chance. I mean, it's just all of your auditions and reads are basically just come in through the manager or the agent, and the project. It can be any number of projects. It could be any project in the world, really, that could have established me in a series or in a major franchise. It just happened to be this one, and I was lucky enough to have worked with the producers before booking Voyager. So they were already aware of my work and they liked my work. So they brought me in specifically for to read for that role in Voyager because I had worked for them before. And since I had that track record set up with them, that made a difference. I don't know if it would have been the same if I hadn't worked for them before that or not. I don't know. It's possible that it may not have made a difference if they brought me in to read for the role and I was right for it, it still could have happened. But it was easier for me, I think, because I had already established a working relationship with them and as an actor in their other projects, the previous project rather. So that made a difference.
So playing a Vulcan, you had to have not a dialect, but you had to speak in a certain way. Did you have to go through a coaching or anything like that for
No,
that, or it just came to you naturally?
Yeah, I mean, there was a style that I wanted to obtain, for that character and to use for that character, and it was basically, it's set up to fit in with the nature of the Vulcan sort of personality and the way in which they carry themselves and the way in which they speak, which is obviously very formal. And they don't, and it's not very colorful. It's very straightforward, very practical. So all I did was just work on, some kind of framework for him as a foundation. And then, of course, during the series, I could tinker with it and nuance it as we went along through the episodes. But just to have the basics so that when he walks on the screen and says this first line, it's clear that he's not like everybody else. And that makes the difference. The way he physically carries himself, the way he walks, the way he moves, the way he speaks, all those things are critical to his personality and his character so that we can buy that he's who he is.
Which is absolutely not the way you are.
Not really. I mean, on a personal note, I like things that do make sense. I don't like things that don't make sense.
Right.
That are not practical, that are not thought out, that are not gone over and worked through and arranged and organized properly so that they function correctly. Not a big fan of that, and I have very little patience for that kind of stuff. So, in that sense, I might be similar to that character.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah,
I was only thinking back to the time when I first met you.
Yeah.
And you were willing to have a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember correctly, it was because of our fondness for tea.
Yeah.
Are you still enjoying your cup of tea these days?
Have the teas, man. I always have tea. I'm drinking it today, as a matter of fact. It's a fruit tea today. So, yeah, I do. I still drink them. I used to drink coffee a lot. I used to drink coffee all the time, and eventually I just stopped doing it. And so it's just every once in a blue moon I'll have coffee these days, but mostly it's tea, different types. So
yeah, I find myself now going over to that matcha green tea, the Japanese matcha. So I just started it on that. I don't want to just hammer on so much about the Star Trek, but there's a couple other things because it's so unbelievable that you were on for 168 episodes. You were on every single episode, I think.
Yeah.
And it ended in 2001. It's 20 years ago that it ended this year. But again, like I said, I ended up watching it last night, and it's as fresh today as it was 20 years ago.
And that's because, partly because of the genre. It's a science fiction show. So you're not going to be dated. It's very difficult to date that project in terms of its look and storylines because it takes place in the future, way in the future. So you don't have anything that locks you into the present. You don't have a lot of anecdotes. You don't have a lot of references that are current. So you can't date the show. You can't date it with the tech either. There's cell phones and laptops. You'd have to worry about that. When you do a contemporary show, the show is going to get dated because your references are either pop culture, political, or you have tech to be concerned about, also music. So any kind of contemporary show will be dated over time. Whereas a futuristic show, you can watch a futuristic show that was shot in the 1980s or 90s and still get away with it today because it takes place so far in the future. So anything that takes place in the next millennium or so, you're good to go. You're going to be fine. You know.
You know, I got to be honest, I never thought of it that way. I'm always looking at, or not even trying to look, but continuity is a big thing for me in films. But I never thought about the way that you're explaining it now, why such a film or TV series can be current
Yes,
from now until whenever.
that's right. You've got a long lead time on Star Trek. You can do whatever you want.
You absolutely can.
We don't have that technology. Not going to have it for a very long time, if at all. And and your language and your dialogue and your what you're talking about, your discussions, those are all general in terms of themes. Those themes can be played in ancient times or they can be played in the future and they can be played in the present. So the themes and the character dilemmas and the decisions and the things that happen on that show, for the most part, can be played through any period in time. You're literally, you can translate that show to, 400 years ago and still be able to play it. You just change the costumes and you change the tech or that surrounds the show. So that can be done. Yes.
Well, here's for sci-fi because I love sci-fi, and I got to tell you too. In the show that I was watching last night, when they're talking about, well, we're going to the Ponfar bar down here. They're like, you have a Ponfar bar? I wonder what kind of music they're gonna have, but
Yeah, that would be the curiosity. What kind of sound are you going to have?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you find yourself open to, well, continuing to do roles such as the sci-fi genre, or do you just want to move on to do other things?
Oh yeah, no, I mean I've done a bunch of other stuff. I mean I'm directing projects of different genres. I've directed at least 5 or 6 projects over the last 5 or 10 years that are in completely different genres than the sci-fi. I've done some sci-fi, but a lot of stuff that horror. Just recently done horror. I've done some period piece from the Middle Ages. I've done a drama that's contemporary. Done a comedy that's contemporary. Um, I've done a whole bunch of stuff that's very different than sci-fi or Trek or related. So not a problem as far as the acting stuff. It's the same way. I mean, whatever roles come in, those are the roles I do. If I like them and I'm able to do it and everything is negotiated out, I go do them. So all of the stuff that I've done, far more of it has been outside the sci-fi genre than has
Mm.
been inside the sci-fi genre, both in front of and behind the camera.
Yeah, actually, there's a couple bits of trivia that I was going to throw out to the listeners because in 2017, let's see, BTVA, a video game, you
Yeah.
won best in vocal ensemble, and then same with 2019. I think there was another. What does it say? We've got the December award for an acting ensemble in a short film called, what is it? Ghost in the Gun.
Yes, Ghost in the Gun. Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that was a cool little bit actually. It was a lot of fun because it was number one. It's a kind of a western, which is
mhm.
always do those, and and it was a pretty intense little piece. I was not aware of the video game award. What video game was that? Do you remember?
Let's see.
Oh,
It did not list. I don't think it listed the actual video game.
no, because I'm
But
curious. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know I was part of an awards for a particular video game. I've done a whole slew of them. I just did about 2 or 3 of them in the last 6 months.
oh,
They're all code names, so I can't. I
yeah, I can't say.
name is going to be, but I did at least 2 or 3 of those. I think one was a sequel. It's like the next chapter of whatever it was, and the other 2 were brand new. And one was fantasy, one was contemporary. But I've done about, I don't know, 12 of those things by now.
So that 2017 award that I was talking about came from the BTVA Video Game Voice Acting Award, and this was actually an ensemble award. And this came from a video game called Mirror's Edge Catalyst from 2016. From what I understand, it's not uncommon for an actor such as Tim, with the body of work that he has, not to be aware that they may have been nominated or won an award such as this one, for one reason or the other. Maybe they just didn't get the information. Maybe, as Tim is going to mention, that the title has changed. So you just never know. There's something else that's really cool too. There's a list of the top 25 or 26 of the Star Trek series characters and the movie roles that they played. And Tim is listed as number 7. Top on that list is actually Michael Dorn with an amazing 277 credits to his name. But let's take a look at Tim. Like I said, he's listed at number 7, and they show him at 176 plus one movie. So this includes 2 non-canon movies between 93 and 2001. Let's see, what else do we have here? We've got Star Trek The Next Generation, 1 episode. Deep Space Nine, 2 episodes. It lists Star Trek Voyager with 170, but I thought there was 168 total episodes, so I'm not for sure what's going on there. Also, The Next Generation movie, 1. He directed 1 Voyager episode. There's a directorial or direction on non-canon movie, 1. He was also a writer on 1 non-canon movie. So there's a lot of work that Tim has done. All this information, of course, I've gathered from Internet Movie Database, so perhaps things are not 100% accurate. You be the judge of that. So let's get back to what Tim is talking about.
Yeah, I don't recognize some of the credits on IMDb. I don't know if some of those credits were something that somebody was planning on doing and they just never pulled the trigger on it, or if it was something that I did and I just forgot, or they changed the title, because that's happened a couple of times. This project I worked on that I had that starred a big actress from the 1980s and 90s, and they changed the title on that project 3 or 4 times. They had 3 different titles for that movie when it was released. It was released under 3 different titles. So if I'm looking at IMDb and I see that these other titles, I go, what in the heck is that? I'm not going to, because they changed the title, and that does happen often. It does happen a lot.
Yeah, I do recall my attempt at acting and stuff. There was one particular film that was filmed in Seattle, and it changed titles 3 times before it actually was released. And I think it was released with 2 different titles.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Not surprising. It's just the way the business is,
Yeah. Yep. Let's go back to talking about some of your projects, because you are a person of a lot of talents. As I mentioned, you produce, you write, you direct, you're a musician. There's a lot of things. So do you have current projects that you're working on right now that you can even talk about?
Well, the problem is being able to talk about them. There are several, but some of them I can't. I do have I just finished working on a horror piece, which features my daughter in one of the lead roles, and it's called Slayer. So we're just in post-production on that. I can talk about that one. It's basically a vampire horror type supernatural thriller. It was shot up in Sacramento. It's about a year ago. No, in 2020, early 2020, and working on that in post-production on that. Post-production for a pilot presentation for a project called The Efficient, which is a family sort of feel-good, sort of positive energy and vibe series that I just got through shooting about basically the pilot episode for. And that potentially could end up on one of the streaming networks. I'm not sure which one. The others that I'm working on is a biopic for a famous African-American character at the turn of the century in 1900s France. So I'm waiting with a partner of mine. We've got the pitch packet we just put together, and we have pitched it to a couple of entities. And also one other Marvel type action adventure contemporary project with these superhero type characters, fighters, and that's a really cool piece. I don't want to give away too much on that one, but that takes place in contemporary times, and it's 4 lead characters who are a superhero fighting team. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, and with a production company that's here based in LA, and
Okay.
they've got a track record, and they wanted to carry the project to see if they could sell it. So
Wow. So with Slayer, are you directing or
yeah,
produced, or did you?
I was directing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I shot that about, like I said, about a year ago, and it's very straight up, vampires and demons and ghouls and all that kind of thing. So and we're just in the middle of post production on it. It takes a long time to put together um, feature projects. It's not,
Hmm.
the front end, just getting the money and the financing, that takes a while. The shooting doesn't take any time at all, really. It's the back end, the post production, that takes a long time. There's so many things that go into um, finishing a project, getting it to the point where it's actually can be released. So I've had a project on the shelf for 5 or 10 years because of music licensing issues with
Oh.
the songs that we put in the film, and
Mhm.
that's the responsibility of the producers. Wasn't my It wasn't my responsibility. I was just shooting the project, but they've had it hung up because of that. So they've got to repackage the film, they got to retitle the film, and they've got to get the license paid for the song to get it released. So, and it's a cute little film. It's a kind of a feel good rom-com.
Oh, good. Uh, so as this is a open conversation, and you just kind of touched on something that I hadn't even thought about talking to you about, and that is the music licensing part and holding things up. It seems like in the past, saying 20 years ago, 20 plus, it wasn't as hard now to get a piece of music to be put in your film, and there wasn't such a stink. Do you think that nowadays, because musicians are making so little money because things are released digitally, that it's more difficult to get the licensing, or they're more of a stickler to say, I need to get paid and I want to get paid?
No, yeah, I mean it's I think it's always been a case where depending upon what the project is and what the budget of the project is, and also depending upon what your status is as a writer, performer, and artist, as to whether or not you want to get the project out there. I
Mhm.
mean, what it comes down to now is, I've got a film that's coming out and blah blah blah, and it's an indie film, low budget, and we need a couple of tracks for the song. Do you have anything we could use? And you could license somebody's song for $100, and they just basically sign over the rights to you. You can make a contract or a deal that if the movie makes X amount of dollars, I get a kickback or a bonus or whatever. Or just take the song and put it in there and give me the credit. You've got options, based on if you're a songwriter, if you have the material that somebody's interested in, depending upon what the movie is. Or you can say, I want 10 grand, or I want 20 grand, or 50 grand, whatever. If it's a big budget film, you definitely will get paid pretty good money. If you have a publisher, they're going to take their half, and then the rest of it's going to go to you. So for that kind of thing, or commercials and things like that, licensing is not a problem. It's just a matter of what the deal or the package is going to be for the songwriter,
Mhm.
and what the deal of the package is going to be for the producer. So if the songs, the movies that I've done, the same film I was talking about, we have other material in there that was written by one of the producers and his son, and those songs are all, there's no cost on the front end. There would be on the back end if the movie made money, but there's nothing on the front end.
Right.
Whereas if the other film that had the other song in that same film is a well-known artist and it's his track, yeah, you can't use that without paying the publisher and him, a fee for it. And that may not be a lot, but it's going to be something. You're not going to get it for free. So it all depends. People are willing to bend over backwards to get their songs in a movie, of any kind, because they can say they put their songs in a movie and they've got that credit, and so they may give up the rights for a few $100, and that'll be end of it.
Yeah.
That's what the deal is coming down to. It's always going to favor the producer or the production company more so than necessarily the artist.
Hmm. I found that to be true in photography.
Same thing.
I used to shoot all these the bands, and boy, it just got next to impossible to try to sell something into Rolling Stone or somebody like that, because somebody down the road would say, "Ah, just give me credit, put my name in that photo."
Correct. That's what you're up against. That is exactly what you're up against. I mean, they really have to like the material and really want that material in order to, to make a deal with you. And like I said, I mean, you can, if you're an independent writer, songwriter, and you've got your own library and you own your own publishing, even,
Hmm.
which you can do today, then you can sell it for whatever you want. It's your deal. You can make whatever agreement you want with people. There's no, there's boilerplates out there you can use, but at the end of the day, you name your price, and if they say yes, yes, and if they don't, they don't. I mean, it all depends on how badly you want your song in somebody's movie.
I guess, like you said, opportunities out there to do whatever you want with
Whatever
whatever you
you own.
own.
Whatever you own. Yes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to make sure that I'm mindful of your time. There's just a few more things I want to go through because having this conversation with you is actually this is great.
Yeah.
It's it's refreshing because I'm really learning some stuff from the industry,
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
and film from you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to just mention to the listeners and watchers out there as far as your projects, charities, or just your thoughts, of the day?
Yeah, well, I've got a website. It's a Tim Russ webpage dot com, and it's actually, anybody who types in my name on Google, you're going to get the website page. And on that page, I have try to list all the projects that I'm working on currently. Plus, I have a charity page. I have 3 or 4 charities that I donate to regularly. I've got my music on there. I've got links to my acting work. I've got things on there people can check out. IMDb, of course, has all my credits and some stuff on there as well, demo reels and things like that. So people can look me up on IMDb, or they can look me up on my website. Again, it's timrusswebpage.com, and I will try to list most of the projects that I'm working on with possibly some links to them, but just to keep up on what's happening. And at the end of the day, those outlets, those things, I've got my own YouTube channel as well, which is open to the public, and they can see the work that I've done on links and footage and things like that. So all of that stuff is available to people to check out. I do post things on my Facebook page under Tim Russ. I will post things on my Twitter page, again under Tim Russ 2. So you can look me up on social media as well to find out what I'm up to.
That sounds very good.
Oh,
Because I think people need to go out there and listen to your music because your voice and your guitar playing are really good.
thank you very much. Yeah.
So, and, and it seems like there's one that I saw that kind of reminded me of not exactly Devo, but going more towards that type of feel and vibe in the video. And then you've got something that's more along the lines of just very smooth blues jazz feel.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I want to throw out the little this or that question round for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, hamburgers or pizza?
Oh no, that's a dead even heat, man.
Oh, all right. I'll let you get away with that.
That's a dead even heat. The hamburger might have the edge. It might have an edge over pizza. I just had some really good pizza yesterday. Like, it was amazing. Place I found here in LA, which I hadn't gone to before, and I said to my girlfriend, let's check this. Let's check this out and see how we like it. Because we've been looking at the place, and we just we always see it if we drive by it. And we say, oh, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that's like. And then yesterday we said, okay, we're going to find out what it's like, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. So we will be going back there. But if it's between the two, the cravings, it's based on the cravings
Mm-hmm.
that you might have every number of days or weeks. You have these cravings for something. It's like, oh my God, I've got to have hot wings. Oh my God, I've got to have a pizza. I've got to have a burger. I've got to have, some frozen yogurt, whatever it might be. And I tend to have the cravings for the burgers more frequently than I do for the pizza. So, I would give burgers a slight edge between the two.
Well, I'm going to apologize because you've opened up the door for me to ask a couple other little things.
Yeah.
So, that pizza that you had, did you have a lot of toppings or are you a pepperoni guy?
Oh no, I had several toppings on that. Definitely multiple toppings on that, and I even added some extra toppings. I like a little bit, as long as the crust is thin. I'm only a thin crust pizza person. That's it. And no,
Absolutely.
got to be thin. So I don't mind having a few extra things on there because I like, as it were, the cacophony of flavors. I like that.
Okay. As long as there's some pineapple on there, just throw that sweetness.
I
That
did put a little pineapple on it, yes. And I
yes,
know it's a crime for other people, an absolute crime.
it is.
Yes, I know people really poo-poo the pineapple, but
Yeah,
I actually put the pineapple on last night because of the kind I got. It works. It worked fine. Yes.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Have you jumped over to the plant-based burger stuff?
Nope. I'm
Okay,
still,
your red meat.
that's it. I still eat beef. I don't eat a lot of it. I
Yeah.
eat a lot less than I used to, for sure. So I've cut back probably 70% uh,
Mm,
as far as red meat goes. So it's a treat for me now. You know what I mean?
okay.
It's a
Yeah.
yeah.
So, jazz or blues?
I would say between those two, I would go more for blues than jazz, but the number one would probably be pop rock. Um,
Okay.
that's what I was raised on. Pop rock and R&B, those three categories is what I'd like, and I like a mix and a blend of all three styles. I like it when they mash up those styles. So I would go along with something along that lines. I love Bruce Hornsby's style, for example. He's got this wonderful blend. It's almost like a cultural sort of um, southern sort of pop hip sort of groove going on, and it's just a cool thing. It's just got a blend of something. It's that's just got this wonderful feel to it, and that's just an example of one. I like Peter Gabriel is another one. I like his edge to his material, and I like his
Mm-hmm.
style, I like his voice. So there's a range of groups, and I was raised on a super group. So there's a lot of Chicago and Santana and Sly and Family Stone and all that. That's where I'm coming from. So at the end of the day, that range of music is what I was raised on. So I'm digging any kind of blend of those two or three things is I'm down for. So
Yeah,
um,
we're not too far off in our age, and everybody and everything that you're listening is exactly what I love. And I've jumped on the vinyl bandwagon, so I'm my collection is slowly growing.
there you go. I don't get the records, but I have a turntable and I still do have some records. But most of what I listen to now is all downloaded. That's just what I do.
Yeah,
It's easy.
it.
Go grab it and I get it and put it on the iPhone or whatever in the hell it is, and that's it. And I'm done.
Here's 10,000 songs versus 100 albums. Just taking up too much space. Yeah.
1,000 songs, yeah. And my biggest quest is just to find headphones that I like, just so it sounds good, and preferably not anything that I don't know, I have to have carry a generator around to keep it going and doesn't weigh 300 pounds. So that's my quest in the music world. So as far as listening goes,
Well, list it on your page when you find the right one.
when you find the right one, yes, exactly. You
So
find the right one.
this one is a given, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, between the two, I would prefer Star Trek, and the main reason because this Star Trek involves stories. It
Absolutely.
involves stories with a particular amount of depth to them, characters that have depth to them, circumstances, storylines, plot lines. They deal with issues that we have to deal with today. They examine all these things in different forms and styles and ways, and they challenge our sort of cultural mores and things like that. Yeah, I have to go along with that. Whereas Star Wars is fairly straightforward, basically good guys and bad guys duking it
Mhm.
out, and that's what that is. And Star Trek has very little of that. I mean, it's basically just how do we solve this problem? What is this problem, and how do we solve it? How do we help fix this or fix that? How do we deal with a circumstance that we don't understand? How do we communicate with? How do we get along with? How do we wrestle with this or that particular issue that comes up? And that's what
Yeah.
society has to deal with on a daily basis.
As Captain Janeway would say, it's the prime directive.
Indirect.
There's that story, and you got to
That's right.
fit that prime directive in there.
That's correct. That is correct.
So, Fender or Gibson?
Fender,
Yes. Uh,
100%. Yeah,
and the,
Gibson, I'm just not. and a number of others. And Fender has always been. I have yeah, I see that telly in the back. I particularly I had a Strat for years and years and years. Now I have a GNL, which is of course Leo Fender.
Mm-hmm.
Music Man, again, the engineers for Fender. And it's basically a Strat copy, and it sounds absolutely amazing. And I have an Ibanez, which is also a Strat copy body, as it were, but at Ibanez. So that's the only one I broke away from as far as Fender made guitars. It was an Ibanez. Just I liked it. It was kind of interesting. It plays well, sounds great, and it looks and feels like a Strat. But I have the GNL and the Music Man, which are essentially the same designers and the same style of guitar. The body styles are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Guitars are really well made, and they play well. They stay in tune, and I really love them. At some point in time in the future, I might go out and get another Strat just to have a Strat, But I like the ones that I have. I like the three that I have. I think they're great, definitely in the Fender realm, as it were.
I just
Wonderful.
need to learn to play guitar as well as you play. I stick with my bass, 4 strings, and that's it. Not even a 5-string bass.
Yeah, and in fact, I have a 4-string bass as well, and it's a GNL. I've got a GNL bass 4-string. Yeah, nice guitar, man.
Oh, love
Nice
those.
guitar.
Yes.
Fantastic, and I love playing bass as well. One of the other bands I used to sit in with, I used to play bass for them all the time, and and had to sing as well, which is never easy for playing bass. But I do both whenever I get a chance to. But mostly with a guitar, and it's just about how much time you put in practicing and playing and I don't put in nearly as much time as I used to in the past, but most of my forte is rhythm guitar because I do a lot of vocals. My stuff is all vocal driven, so I'm not I can't call myself a shredder by any stretch of the imagination, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't intend to be. I can play lead and do all that stuff if I have to, but I don't. Typically, I'm doing rhythm guitar and singing, and that's where I like to live.
And again, I'm just going to throw it out there for those who are listening and watching. Definitely have to go on YouTube and find Tim Russ and look up for guitar playing in the band. So there's some really cool stuff out there. Pie or cake?
Oh, probably pie.
All
Uh,
right.
Particularly peach or peach, apple, cherry, around that blueberry and that one as well. Yeah, but mostly homemade. I like the homemade stuff. The store bought stuff's not so good, but the homemade stuff's got to be. That's where I'm going. Yeah,
I'll tell you, my younger sister makes the best pies and cakes.
outstanding.
Vacation in the desert or on the water?
Definitely a water would be better than the desert. Desert's got some attributes that are pretty interesting and cool, but the beaches you can't beat that.
Yeah.
And lakes you can't beat either. So yeah, water's better.
Well, I hope we get back to cruising someday on the
Someday,
water.
someday, man, someday.
Uh, a writer or director?
Director. I have written some things, a lot of short format stuff, and I've revised feature scripts on occasion, but I really don't enjoy that process. It's not really something that I like doing that much, and it's not something that I'm the best at. I would rather get a writer to work with a writer on a project who is a writer, somebody who writes. There's a magic to writing. There's a alchemy to writing. There's a desire and a motivation, experience to be able to gather up like an encyclopedia all the things that you've learned and are dealing with, or to research things and get those and then put the story together and to come up with a story, to come up with a twist, to come up with the first, second, and third act that really rocks. I'd rather work with somebody who has that ability rather than me slugging through it page by page trying to figure out what I'm doing. So directing and shooting, that's a little easier for me because I worked in front of the camera for so many years, so I understand the nature of it. So it's just another step in that same
Hmm.
vein.
Yeah, that's right. Because you even have cinematography to your credit as well.
Yeah, not for me, not so much cinematography. I work with. I would rather work with a really good DP
Hmm.
on a project than try to do that myself.
Yeah.
I'm much more about just directing the project, just overseeing it, how it's going to come together, and working with a really good DP to make it happen, and a good editor, preferably on the back end, because
Hmm.
that makes all the difference in the world. I can tell you. Uh,
Yeah, speaking of with editing and editors, boy, these days with movies and you see the trailers, these editors are putting in like every bit of every single great part. Then you go to the movie and you're going, I guess the trailer was it.
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that going on, man. A lot of that going on from top to bottom. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
cheaper or pricey, doesn't matter. There are some things that are problematic with the trailer and the feature.
Mm.
And keep in mind, the trailer is only designed by the distributor to sell the project. It's about the sizzle, not about the actual course that you're eating. It's this the sizzle, and it's about getting you to turn it on and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Once they've got you there, they've got you. You've already paid for it. So that's what it's designed to do. So you can't take a trailer at face value. The trailer's only going to give you a hint of what the story's about. And if you like a hint of what the story's about, then you might turn it on and watch the movie. If it's a rom-com and it looks like a rom-com, well, and you like rom-coms, well, there you go. If it's a sci-fi action and it looks like there's a lot of sci-fi action, well, then there you go. If it's a horror and it looks really horrible, you go and get it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you only have, it's just a taste. It's not designed to give you what the movie's about. You would be better off talking to somebody who's seen it or looking at the reviews and seeing what the reviews say about it rather than, and even that's misleading. You have to watch it yourself because it's subjective and everybody has a different opinion.
That's so true. Movies, anything like that, so subjective.
Yeah.
So, the last one I have here is: would you travel to Europe or Asia?
I tend to favor Europe. I love the Mediterranean. And as far north as I've gone is England, and I really like that. I like the British Isles. But right now I'm focused a little bit more on the Mediterranean and Africa. Those are the two
Hmm.
places that I really, really enjoy. I've been there before and I want to go back again.
I wish we had more time because you do have a very interesting growing up.
Thank you.
Because you graduated high school in Turkey. Was it high school in Turkey?
No, I
Or
well, actually went to school in Turkey, but I graduated
Turkey.
upstate New York. Yeah, I've been
Okay.
there a couple, 3 years. Yeah, so I was in the Mediterranean when I was younger. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, like I said, I wanted to try to be as mindful as possible about the time that we're running,
Right,
and I know we're out of time
right,
because.
right, because I got to go.
Um,
I actually got to go get a COVID test. So,
oh, you do
that's what I do. I got to work on the weekends.
film. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes. Well, best of everything to you. And again, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this for me. And I hope we could stay in touch, whether
Yeah.
it's coffee, tea, or through music and film.
It's always music and film is good, man. I love that.
All right.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye bye now.
Thanks. Bye bye. So I hope you enjoyed watching this and listening to Tim as much as I enjoyed doing the interview with him. And really just having a conversation. He's probably one of the nicest guys that I've ever met, especially in the entertainment industry. So I do have a podcast of this and many others, which you can find on anchor.fm/ChuckTuck. Or you could just Google Open Mic with Chuck Tuck, and you can find that on Spotify, Apple, any number of your favorite podcast listening stations. So please do me a favor, give a thumbs up, give a great review, and please come back and visit as often as you like. And just a huge thank you again for all the support, whether it be watching, monetizing, passing around the word. Any support is greatly appreciated. And with more likes and thumbs up and comments and everything on the actual podcast, I'll be able to bring on more guests and do this more frequently. So, again, thank you very much. And until next time, have a great day.